I took the LSAT in January, like I told you in my email. I studied for about 3 months. I did one of those prep courses that said they guarantee 165. Unfortunately, when I got to the mid 150s, my score didn't improve for like 2 months. I just stuck in the 150s, and my instructor was like, it's a hard test. Like that was it. There was no more help. The course did all it could do for me, teach me the basics, and that was it.
But you're here now. So
Yeah.
something is still going on.
Yes.
Awesome. Okay. So how can I help?
So I'm trying to prep for February, and I have like right now less than a month. So I'm trying to do as much as possible that I can in a month. And I'm hoping that I can go from the mid 150s to at least the 160s by then. If I can like improve 6 points, that'd be amazing.
Sure.
Yeah.
So what would you say was missing from your prep before that you're looking to change in this next month?
Maybe more analysis of my wrong answers. I feel like I didn't do that enough. And not just that, it was just surface level explanations for the questions I was getting wrong when I would ask. It wasn't detailed, or nothing clicked for me when I was like explained why the question was wrong. It just seemed very basic, like, oh, it's out of scope. That's not really telling me anything. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree that out of scope is useless. We need to go much, much more in depth.
Yeah.
And that's what the Socratic review method is all about, which is a cornerstone, a foundational portion of my course, to teach you how to review better, to show you how to review better, where I can give you in-depth explanations, but I'd rather you create your own in-depth analysis based on your understanding of what went well, what went poorly, and how you can learn from your mistakes for the next time.
Yeah, for sure. And I also am like very slow, I find. I can only do 3 passages and 3 games in the 35 minutes. So I really want to improve on time. I think that's like a big one for me. Yeah.
So let's talk about that for a moment. You said 3 passages, 3 games, rather than 4 of each. So in reading, let's start with reading comp. In reading comp, where do you think you might be able to save some time?
So I always double check my answers. I'm like one of those people who will write an email and read it 4 times before I send it. And it's really hard now on the LSAT to just be like, okay, this is the right answer, move on. I'll like go looking in the passage to confirm that that's the right answer. And I waste a lot of time that way.
Yeah. So being detail oriented also has a benefit though. So where's the benefit in that?
I don't know. Not on the LSAT. I'm like, I'm wasting so much time.
Well, think about it for a moment. I mean, lawyers look at contracts and other important documents where little words make a big difference. Commas can make a big difference. So being detail-oriented is important, not only in the practice of law, but on the LSAT as well. It has benefits. Don't get me wrong. It's enormously beneficial. You have to be detail-oriented. But in reading comprehension in particular, it can have some drawbacks.
It can, but I remember like the breakthrough with reading comp for me was realizing that the answers are in the passage. You just have to find them. And then that takes so much time and it slows me down. Yeah.
Yeah, they are in the passage. And those are some details that you have to focus on that are really important.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
So part of getting faster at reading comp then will involve knowing where to slow down and where to speed up, which details matter, which details don't matter, and where to find the details when you need them, not when you necessarily first encounter them.
Yeah, for sure. And with games, I find that I look at every single answer, even after I've found the right one. I'm like, I just need to make sure that the rest are wrong. And like, that's just wasting time. Like, it's right, just move on. It's so hard for me to just be like, that's the right answer and just leave it alone.
So it sounds like you already know what you have to do there.
Yeah.
For the reading comprehension, I'm going to recommend for you, Leah, that you attend my deep dive sessions and watch the recordings of the previous ones, because the deep dive sessions are where we focus on one single passage for the entire hour. We might rewrite the entire thing. We might use the Socratic review method to analyze answer choices, but we aim to help you know where to focus and where not to focus on the passage. And that will help you speed up, because you can save a lot of time if you just skip over what you don't need in the moment in terms of details and said, okay, we'll bucket it into its structural category.
Yeah, if I can actually finish the test in the time, my score would go up just by finishing. Yeah.
So have you ever engaged in that exercise where you keep running even after the clock has finished, even after the clock is done? Like you've hit the 35 minutes, but you keep going and you see what your accuracy is like?
No, because I do the exam mode and I just do the test, and when it's done, I guess the answers. So I do like letter of the day and I fill them in like I would on the test if I ran out of time. And then that's what I do. But I do on time sections and I'll see however long it takes, I'll finish it. Yeah.
I'm going to recommend that you try self-paced mode in Law Hub instead, because it will let you run out the clock and continue. And then you'll see what your accuracy may have actually been like. So you'll see if it's more of an accuracy issue or a timing issue. Because it sounds to me like you're telling me that it's an accuracy issue, it's a timing issue, and I believe that totally. Timing is such a big part of this.
An accuracy and a time issue, because when I try to go faster, then my accuracy dips.
Well, that tells me it's still a timing issue. There's still a speed issue. No, but I get that's a fundamental issue so many students face. So I want you to give yourself the chance to solve it, regardless of time, and then we can look at the strategies to help you speed up, like we'll go over in class.
Okay. What would you think my accuracy would have to be for me to be at the point where it's speed and not accuracy?
What do you think?
I'm thinking 90% for me to be like, okay, I have reading comp down. I just need to work on time. 90 or more, possibly 100. But I always miss like one question.
I'm honestly not sure how much it even matters though, because you have to be good on both of them. There is no untimed LSAT alternative that you can take instead, right? We have what we have in front of us. And so over the next month, they're both going to be really important. You want to work on both. There's accuracy as one thing to work on. There's also pacing. There's also endurance. Endurance isn't as big of an issue on the flex because it's only 3 sections. And that's part of why self-paced mode is useful, actually, because self-paced mode lets you do only 3 sections.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, with the exam mode, it's for this hypothetical 4-section exam that nobody's ever taken, because the flex is 3 sections, the previous was 5. So I'm not sure how useful it ultimately really is at the end of the day. But accuracy comes from working on your review process, and pacing can also come from looking at, after you've done a section or an exam, where did you allocate time and where did you misallocate time? So misallocation of time would be, for example, only going through all 5 choices on games when it's mathematical and you have your definitive answer. If you find that that never makes sense for you to do that you keep doing it, that's a pacing thing to work on. Or if you get bogged down on an easy question and never get to tougher ones, that's also a problem. Or if you just get bogged down on anything, that's also a problem.
Any advice for me about how I should go about my 1 month of prep? Because it's such a tight timeline to improve my score.
Sure. What are your other obligations between now and then?
So I do work. I work at a pharmacy, so I still have to go to work. But it's part-time, so 34 days a week. That's it.
Fantastic. Okay. And so that's it. So nothing else besides that.
The LSAT. I have the semester off, just the LSAT.
Okay. I mean, you could do 2 timed exams a week, along with detailed review of those exams. And that review would involve the Socratic review method. So watch my workshops for logical reasoning, for example, because I go in depth there. You didn't mention logical reasoning. You talked reading comp and games, but a lot of what we do for logical reasoning will apply to reading comp as well. The deep dive sessions will also help you with that.
I know I am weak with conditionals in LR. Not so much games. Games, it's pretty straightforward, but when I see them in arguments, it's a lot more difficult to notice them. I'm just reading a regular sentence to me, but it's really a conditional. Yeah.
I got you. Okay. Well, I have plenty of lessons on conditionals in the LR context. In particular, I'd recommend looking at the sufficient assumption workshops because those contain a lot of formal logic and the conditionality really stands out there. And for logic games, I've got plenty of workshops as well, walking through different potential approaches for the exact same game in terms of setting it up. The answer choice thing, that's a more of a pacing issue, but I do have some classes talking about where to look after, what to look at after the fact to make sure that you're going into a section with intentionality, where you have a step-by-step approach, meaning that you take out the guesswork, you take out the stress in the moment of confirming and triple confirming everything to just move on to the next thing. So there's a lot there to look at too.
Do you do application consulting?
I do. Yeah.
Do you think that it would make sense to apply to schools later, or should I just wait and do it next year?
There's no easy answer on that. I mean, what do you want to do? What's your inclination?
I really just want to go to law school as soon as possible because I am a mature applicant and I just don't want to waste any more time.
Okay, so then it comes down to where would you be happy to go? Are scholarships important to you?
Scholarships are important, but not as important as getting into a quote unquote good law school. Like at least top 50, I would say, or higher. Otherwise, I'd just wait a year and keep studying for the LSAT.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to come down to what your numbers ultimately end up being.
Yeah.
So you take your GPA, you take your LSAT score once you've got it, you input them into the calculators, you see where you stack up based on medians, and then you can make a more informed decision from there. All else being equal, it's better to apply at the beginning of next cycle. I know that nobody ever wants to wait. I know that you don't want to wait, but you could be served in terms of both getting more scholarships and getting into a better ranked law school if you wait. But you can also see what happens this cycle if you apply.
That's true.
Do you have your application essays pretty much ready to go?
Yeah, because I applied to Canadian schools already, and they're pretty early, and they take LSATs January, February, and that's it. So I had to like get those in early. But I have been looking at US schools, and I see some of them take like June LSATs, which is pretty late. So there's like a lot of time. Yeah.
Yeah, I really wouldn't recommend applying with a June LSAT at first. And it's one thing to be on a wait list and then retake it and then submit that as an after the fact kind of thing, but I wouldn't apply for the first time at that late date. February LSAT, applying then, I mean, their odds might be a little bit lower and might be less scholarship money available, but the high enough score could be okay. It depends what you want. Like if you want like a top 14, that's a different story. Top 50.
That would mean like studying for a year.
Right. Yeah.
I honestly don't mind if I do take a year off. I'll just continuously study the LSAT until I get as high a score as possible that I can possibly do, and then apply if I take the extra year. Why not?
Absolutely. I mean, you could if you decide to wait. So you see what happens with February, and if you decide that you'd rather wait a little bit, you can then retake it in June or July. You don't even need to take an entire year. You could though. You could, but I'd say instead take it sometime in the next 5 to 6 months and then apply at the beginning of the new cycle to maximize your odds.
Is there any such thing as you're like only capable of a certain score, or can anyone improve if they put the work in?
I believe that pretty much anyone can improve if they put the work in. Timelines will vary naturally.
Yeah.
But I believe that anybody can learn this because it's just an exam of pattern recognition.
Okay, that makes sense. I have like read a lot of blogs that were like, you can only improve 10 points, or you can only improve 20 points. And that's just so discouraging because like I've already passed the 10 points. Like if that's all I can do, that's really sad. Yeah.
I wouldn't spend your time reading random stuff. I mean, like I've seen 30 to 40 point score increases. I'm not going to say they're the most common thing in the world. A lot of it will come from just putting in the time though. And not everybody is able to put in the time, but it sounds like you are. It sounds like you're incredibly dedicated and you've already seen that you can improve beyond what others claim.
Yeah.
So don't let anybody tell you no. You've got a month, do what you can with this month, see what happens. If you then need more time or you want to take more time, we can also discuss what a longer study timeline would look like.
Okay, yeah, for sure.
But it's been great to connect with you, Leah. Anything else for today?
No, that's it. Thank you so much.
No, of course. I'm really glad we connected. Keep in touch and let me know if you need anything moving forward.
Okay, for sure.
Thanks for tuning into the show. Please subscribe if you haven't done so already to be notified of new episodes as I release them. And feel free to reach out if you need anything at all as you move forward with your prep. I'm happy to help however I can. In the meantime, I wish you all the best and take care.